Good morning, and welcome back to Coffee and Sports. This is the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walsbeck, a.k.a. Bobby Boucher, the water boy. And to my right, I got the man who knows better. It's Mo Better. Good morning, Mo.
Hey, good morning, Gene. Good morning, chat. Welcome.
Fired up, bro. Fired up. Ready. I'm ready for a tremendous snowed-in weekend of football on Sunday. We got basketball. I'm going to the 76ers game Saturday night. They're playing the New York Knickerbockers.
Well, that'd be a good game.
I'll be there. EA Sports. I'll be in the game. Going to be in the assembly room, hanging out up there, watching the game with a group. One of my friends' birthdays, and he's a Knicks fan, so it'll probably be a very hostile night, but that's okay. Tyrese Maxey and the boys might bring me home a win. But Mo, how is your Wednesday morning going?
My Wednesday morning is going great. There's so much going on in sports, especially in the NFL, with so much turnaround so fast. So that soap opera alone keeps me interested.
How much did you enjoy that national championship Monday night?
I was hoping for a great game, and we got a great game. And I didn't care who won. I was just happy that it was a great game.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be a great game. And if I'm even being more transparent with you, I thought Indiana was going to blow them out. But I've said this numerous times on the show, and I'll say it again. Ruben Bain Jr. is an absolute monster. He is so like we all talk about Arvell Reese as the best edge rusher coming out of this draft for Ohio State. I think Ruben Bain Jr. is better. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. And I know that this is not comparables in a sense that they're going to be as good as these two players, but Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett are different players. Micah Parsons is a great edge rusher. He's great at getting after the quarterback. Ruben Bain Jr. is that Myles Garrett in that comparison. And he is the guy that can stop the run. He's wreaks havoc everywhere. He's strong. He's fast. He's elite in run defense. And he gets after the quarterback. So if I'm being honest with you, Mo, I think it's one of those things where the wrong person is rated higher. And in 5 years from now, we'll be like, how the hell did we put Arvell Reese over Ruben Bain Jr.? Like, it's just, he was wrecking the game for Miami. Every snap, and I gotta give a little bit of criticism to my guy, Fernando Mendoza. He needed to step up in those pockets. He wasn't stepping up in those pockets. He was dropping back further and allowing those edge rushers with the wide angle around. How much of a game record did you see in Ruben Bain Jr.?
Throughout the game, I kept saying, can no one block him?
No.
And even a couple times when they doubled, he got through the double. Like, I'd heard a lot about him, but to actually get to watch him this last month, yeah, he's a monster, and I don't disagree that he's going to be a great player. He's got a combination that a lot of great edge rushers don't have because he can play inside and out. I really do like the comparison to Myles Garrett because of the strength to go with the quickness. So yeah, he was so dominant, and look, because he was so dominant, that's primarily why it was such a close game. He just blew up everything they tried to do.
Couldn't agree with you more, Mo. It is the day, 2 days, but it's the show after the college football season. And what I always love to do after the college football season is bring up Tankathon, is bring up the first mock draft after the college football season. And I just want to play this out for you, Mo, as if you were one of these GMs. Now, Fernando Mendoza going number one seems like a no-brainer. The Raiders desperately need a quarterback. He used 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was incredible this year. Fernando Mendoza, and the play on 4th and 5. Sorry, I don't want to skip over this. The play on 4th and 5, number one, for Cignetti to have the balls to call quarterback draw on 4th and 5 when your team's up 3 is, man, you ever see the South Park episode where he's got the wheelbarrow and he's carrying around the guy's balls because they're so big? Right. Like, that was ballsy. And for Mendoza to make that cut, step over and tackle, break a tackle, that was the Heisman moment. That was the college football moment. That was that image, that little 11-yard skimper to the touchdown on a 4th and 5 was everything, man.
I couldn't agree more. Watching that play out, it isn't the exact same play, obviously, but in terms of moments, it reminded me of Vince Young turning the corner and getting the touchdown at the end versus USC. Like, it was that big a moment. It was his moment. It was an amazing play, and I'm not gonna lie. As I'm watching the game, and I'm not rooting one way or another, but I was like, they're not really going for it on 4th and 5.
No,
I
didn't tell you there.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have done it, but that's why he's the head coach.
So other things on here, Jet's gonna jet, in my opinion. I think they're gonna get the second best edge rush prospect in Arvell Reese at 2, whereas the Cardinals are predicted to take Ruben Bain Jr. at 3. I think that Bain is the better player. He has more sacks. He has an interception. He's got more forced fumbles. I think he's a better player. He's 6'3", 275, and the way he was getting around the edge is absolutely frightening. He's the perfect defensive end in a 3-4 technique. They list him as an edge because that gets you paid a lot more, but Ruben Bain is every bit of a Myles Garrett prototype. Carnell Tate at 4. The Titans, who just hired Robert Saleh as their head coach, go out and get a weapon for Cam Ward. What are your thoughts on the 2, 3, and 4 picks, Mo?
Look, I totally understand why the Jets are going that way, but I'm with you. Look, Bain is a freak, and he's 275 pounds, and he's every bit as quick as Reese is. But look, and I'm not saying Reese is not going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a really good player, but I think Bain could be an all-time great player. There's that difference. As far as the Titans, yeah, I knew they were going to go out and try to get Cam Ward a weapon, and look, he needs weapons. Carnell Tate is the pick. It gives you a potential number 1 anyway. So I understand why they did that. I have no problem with any of those moves.
You got the Giants drafting a wide receiver. I don't necessarily agree.
I don't know why they're doing that at all. I don't get that. That move I have a problem with.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. The Browns solidifying their offensive line makes perfect sense. And then, in my opinion, the best player in this draft is Caleb Downs, going at 7, going to the Washington Commanders. Now, the reason he's going 7, it's like you're asking yourself, well, Gene, if you think he's the best player in the draft, why don't you think he's going to go 1? Because safeties are not a position of need. They're not a position where people overspend. You don't normally see guys grab safeties in the top 10. You can count them on one hand how many safeties have went in the top 10. I think Caleb Downs is the best player in the country. And then Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, which I think is a tad overrated. Nothing against Jeremiah Love. I watched him play the last 2-3 years. He's very good. And then I guess another notable one down here is the Ravens going out and getting another wide receiver in the first round, and Mekhi Lemon, another undersized wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver. It's just interesting to me how many first-round draft picks we're going to pair with Lamar Jackson. Any thoughts on that list?
The Ravens going after another wide receiver who's kind of similar to Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
I'll say this in a way that won't come off right. I don't care if you could get Jettas off the Vikings. He's not going to have a prolific season with Lamar as his quarterback. So, and I'm not killing Lamar Jackson. If you ask me if he's one of the 10 best playmakers in football, I think he's one of the 5 best playmakers. But he can be that and still not be what I would call a prolific passer, a great thrower of the football. You can get him. You could get Lamar Calvin Johnson, and I don't think that would make a difference. Lamar, the quarterback, is going to be who he is, and I'm not killing him. But if you're going to keep him as your quarterback and he's your guy, and they should, then you need to go out and get players that buffer his skill set. a great a number one wide receiver or a short, speedy wide receiver. I don't know if that matters with the way they play football. So to me, that there's other areas that they could have worked on. They could have went out and tried to get another playmaker on defense or buffer their offensive line, but I wouldn't have went wide receiver.
I completely agree with you, and I think that if you're the Baltimore Ravens, listen. I think a lot of this stuff changes, right? I think a lot of it changes when you get into who's Baltimore's next head coach. When you get into a lot of these guys, it's just fun to look at early and to see where they're projected. You have the combine. You have a couple other things that can change people's minds. Fernando Mendoza, by the way, skipping the combine because he's going to be a stock trader in New York for the next few months. Did you see that? That was a really funny. Like, if I'm him, I skipped the combine, but I don't need to add the fact that I'm going to be peddling stocks in New York. It's kind of weird. He's a weird kid, man. Listening to him talk, he doesn't. I'm glad he's going to Vegas because I don't think he would have fit in a New York media.
Nah, he's a little different, so I actually agree with that. Vegas is the perfect landing spot for him.
Plenty of people like Fernando Mendoza in Vegas. Not that many people like Fernando Mendoza in New York. Let's talk about head coaching changes. Since we last talked, Mo, Jeff Hafley was named as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Packers defensive coordinator. He is a very good defensive coordinator. 2 years as the Packers DC, he gets a head coaching job in Miami. They go from the ultimate offensive guy, Mike McDaniel. Team is rather soft. I think Stephen Ross is like flipping a coin here, Mo. Go back to his last 4 hires. Joe Philbin, offensive guy, soft. Brian Flores, defensive guy, tough. Mike McDaniel, offensive guy, soft. Jeff Hafley, defensive guy, tough. What do you think about this hire for the Miami Dolphins?
I think they're trying to do a culture change. I actually think it's a good hire. I think they want to build up a culture, have a different kind of attitude in and out of the locker room. It's funny because this hire makes me go, you could have avoided all that had you just kept Brian Flores. That's me. That's me. That's me. That's immediately what I thought of. And I'm still waiting on Brian Flores to be a head coach, right?
Give me that Steelers job, baby. I really believe it. I really believe he's going to be the Steelers' next head coach. I just think it's the perfect fit. I think he would go in there and change that culture immediately. That defense would be like Steel Curtain in the 70s again. He would get them younger. His scheme is incredible. And the one thing I think Brian Flores always needs, I don't like him drafting a quarterback. Right. I want him to be able to get a veteran quarterback to sign there and play offense. He needs an OC and he needs a veteran quarterback. He does not have the patience to deal with young quarterbacks. You can see that with Tua. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't Tua. Maybe he just didn't want Tua. All the reports coming out before that draft is he wanted Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert was not as highly touted as Tua going into that draft. Remember that season? It was the tank for Tua.
Right.
Justin Herbert went 6 in that draft. And if we're being completely honest, I think it's simple that he needs a veteran quarterback, or at least allowed to pick his quarterback.
No, I agree. I think they want somebody that's a proven leader. Look, I don't even think they need like a franchise quarterback. I just think they need a guy who can be a game manager. Look, if the Vikings had a game manager like quarterback, they would be in the postseason. That's how good their defense was. The offense was god awful.
I completely agree with you. So the other hire that happened over the weekend, not weekend, maybe I think it happened Monday night, was Robert Saleh got another head coaching job with the Tennessee Titans. I might be in the minority here, Mo. I think Robert Saleh is a great hire. I've always been a Robert Saleh fan. I think he's a great coach. I think he got way more out of the Jets, and I think you're seeing that now. I think that Jets organization is a mess. I think Robert Saleh got way more out of the Jets than he got credit for. I want to remind you, when he was let go, that defense was number 2 in the NFL, and they finished at number 15 at the end of the year. A year later, they have Aaron Glenn, another defensive-minded coach, and they have the worst defense in football. They didn't even record an interception. I think Robert Saleh was in a bad situation, and I think he's walking into a much better one. You have a franchise quarterback in Cam Ward. He's looked good. You got to get an OC. I think all defensive coordinators need to find the right OC, especially with young quarterbacks like Cam Ward or even with CJ Stroud, like DeMeco Ryans. I feel like he struggled a ton finding the right offensive coordinator. I thought he had him, if I'm being honest, with Bobby Slowick, but we'll get into that in a minute. But what do you think about the Robert Saleh hire in Tennessee?
Well, as a Niner fan, I think it stinks.
I felt that coming.
It completely stinks. I was calling Saleh all kind of names, Judas, you name it. But he deserves it, right? Like he deserves another shot at this. I think it's a great hire. I think he's gonna bring his own culture with him there, his own guys, the right attitude, and I think he'll learn from his previous experience that I know I'm a defensive-minded head coach. I know that's my jam, but I need to go out and get an OC that's going to uplift and fit my young quarterback skill set and help him develop going forward. I think he needs to pick an OC and let the OC be the OC. You're not an offensive guy, Saleh. Focus on being the guy, the overseer, and being a defensive guy. And I think he'll do that. I think Tennessee made a great hire. They're going to reap the benefits from having a leader like Robert Saleh.
I do want to bring something up that I think is interesting. The Green Bay Packers claimed Trevon Diggs. They used him for maybe 6 plays. They released him, and they're on the hook for his contract because they claimed him. Was this not the worst claim made?
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't understand that at all. That was crazy.
I did not realize that we had a banner flowing on this show. I guess that someone is trying to sell product on our network. That's interesting. But I think that as a whole, you making that claim, it kind of blew up right in the Packers' face. They released them, and then they're on the hook for part of the salary. So the Packers' Diggs' base salary for 2026 would have been $14.5 million if the Packers kept him. They ended up paying Diggs a little more than $500,000 for his services, and they're on the hook for $1.2 million this year of dead cap money for 5 plays. 5 plays.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I guess they thought they'd go a little bit further. I don't know. Couple decisions left to be made. Mike McDaniel passed up being a head coach at a couple places. Didn't want to wait till the head coach search was over. He's set to become the Chargers offensive coordinator. This, to me, is a great hire for Jim Harbaugh. I think when you look at the Chargers, they have the toughness. They lack the offensive creativity. They fired Greg Roman for that. Jim Harbaugh is going to bring that toughness. Mike McDaniel, a guy that can absolutely bring the creativity to the offense. Is this a time to buy low Justin Herbert stock?
Yeah, I'd buy into Justin Herbert stock with the addition of Mike McDaniel. You're right; it's a great hire for Harbaugh, but it's also a great job opportunity for Mike McDaniel. You go there, and I'm sure him and Harbaugh have had the conversation. If you bolster Justin Herbert, if you take what the Chargers did this year, minus having their best offensive lineman, minus really having a lot of great weapons, and you're a big reason why the offense goes to another level and the Chargers go on a deep playoff run. Look, people are going to be ringing off the hook to offer Mike McDaniels another head coaching job. So I think this partnership works out for both of them. And they're probably both with the understanding that we're probably not going to be partners. If it goes as well as they project it to go, they'll be partners for maybe a season, 2 tops.
I feel you. I hear that 100%. I think that Mike McDaniel, I think it's a good hire for them. And I think that he'll go there and he'll add some creativity to that playbook. And if Harbaugh's lucky, he gets him for a couple of years and it works out perfectly.
Look, the goal is to win a Super Bowl. If those Chargers go to an AFC title game or win the Super Bowl, then that's the mission. And if it comes at like a short partnership, you think Jim Harbaugh is going to care? Nah, he's going to take that Super Bowl.
Some other really big names are on the board as far as coaching or potential OCs. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, the previous offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, is now available. And Joe Brady has been successful anywhere he's went. Brian Daboll, the previous offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, is now available. The Buffalo Bills hiring one of these two to be an offensive-minded coach would be interesting. But Brady being there already, I don't think that's the hire. I think whoever doesn't get hired as head coach of the Buffalo Bills is the Eagles' new offensive coordinator. And if Daboll does not get hired as the Bills offense or Bills head coach, I think Brian Daboll is the next Eagles offensive coordinator. What are your thoughts on the Buffalo job being open, Sean McDermott being let go, and then who they end up potentially hiring?
Well, let me start with McDermott. Look, I'm on board with anybody that acknowledges that he's a good football coach. He's a good football coach, but it's a what have you done for me lately league, and I'm on board with anybody to say that it was time for a coaching change. Maybe it was. They keep knocking on the door, but they couldn't quite get through. Maybe he's the coach that makes you relevant, but not the coach to get you over the hill. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with people blaming him for all their faults. The game plan wasn't for Josh Allen to make bonehead turnovers. Josh Allen did that on his own. That had nothing to do with coaching. And if they want to make the argument that Josh Allen needs more help, that doesn't have nothing to do with coaching either. That's about your GM. I didn't have a problem with McDermott being fired. I was just wondering why the GM didn't get fired too, because he's the one that's shopping for the groceries, and I would argue he didn't do that great a job, especially offensively or defensively. So why'd he keep his job? And then you know what I mean?
Brandon Beane should have been fired 100%.
Yeah, I don't understand that. You're derelict in your duties, and people are like, well, Josh Allen didn't have a problem with them trading away Diggs. Well, he didn't have a problem with him trading away Diggs, but he didn't say don't bring in another number one receiver. They just did a bad job overall in that front office. And like I said, I think the coach and the GM should have been married at the hip. Like, if I'm fired, you fired. So that would be my only question. As far as is it a good job opportunity? Yeah, it's a great job opportunity because you're going to go somewhere where there's a franchise quarterback in his prime, who's going to always have you competitive in terms of winning the division or going on a deep playoff run. So it's a great job opportunity. I would like Brian Daboll for that job because I think that he and Josh Allen would vibe better. But if he doesn't
get great when they played together before,
right? And I think that if he doesn't get the job, I 100% agree with you. He will go to the Eagles, be their offensive coordinator, and he will be a massive upgrade from what you had.
It also will be the first time Jalen Hurts would have the same offensive coordinator. Now, hear me out. Jalen Hurts' offensive coordinator at Alabama was none other than Brian Daboll. So the connection is there.
Wow.
But we'll see how things play out. Danny, I see you in the chat. Happy birthday, my friend. How do you feel about the Jeff Hafley hire for your Miami Dolphins? And if you talked about them being soft, I promise you won't have to worry about that anymore with Hafley. He's not soft.
Facts.
He is not soft. So give us your thoughts and happy birthday, buddy. That's if you don't know, and I'll just take a quick second to give my man a shout out. Hope he's still listening. But Danny is a friend of mine since I think I was 5 and he was 3. We were in like strollers together. Our dads were really close friends. I've been friends with Danny for 35 years.
Wow, you guys go back.
Yeah, and this is my man, 100 grand. So if you're out there, if you're listening, do me a favor, wish him a happy birthday in the chat. He's a great guy, and he's got some great things going for him in life. So happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday. You know what? I believe I saw a post of his. It was a Seinfeld post. I forgot what it was, but I thought it was classic. I can't remember. Was it Festivus? I don't know what it was, but if you're listening, Daniel Dempsey, that was awesome. I thought it was classic.
He's a great guy. Happy birthday to him. It's funny. I have 5 like really, really close friends, and 2 of them are born on the exact same day. So if you don't believe in astrology or zodiac signs, I don't know what to tell you, but 2 of my very, very best friends are born on the same day. So shout out to Nick Hurtado, the Hurtado family, Tiffany and Nico, constantly listening to the show. So shout out to you 2. Happy birthday to you also. 2 of my very, very best friends in the entire world born on the same day. It's a happy, happy day for you guys. Let's move forward. Let's get back into sports. Let's get back into talking about some stuff. Mo, I'm going to change pace. I want to talk about the NBA. And I watched a couple of games last night. I was glued to the couch, both TVs on, outside the Sixers losing to the Suns, which makes me sick. But you said horrible for the Halfley hire? No way. I don't agree with that. But I watched some great basketball last night, including the San Antonio Spurs and the Houston Rockets. And I don't know how much of that game you caught last night, Mo. What?
All of it.
I love that. 3 things were very evident in that game. The Spurs are the deepest roster in the NBA. You had Julian Champagnie last night go absolutely berserk in the first half. They're poorly coached. And the Rockets desperately need a point guard. Those are the 3 things that I took away from that game last night. Rockets, incredible comeback. Came back from, I think they were down like 15 in the third quarter. Won the game by 5. That's great comeback for the Rockets. Kevin Durant, Sengun. Sengun was the catalyst last night. Now, it wasn't just the catalyst. Finally, the Rockets are getting something out of my guy, Reed Shepherd. Because he went on a run at the end of the third, early fourth. I need that Reed Shepherd. If that Reed Shepherd can eventually be your starting point guard, fine. But I need a facilitator on that Rockets team. And that Spurs team is not well coached. It's very odd. You can't have Victor Wembanyama being manned up by Kevin Durant the entire second half and not abuse that. I don't know if he scored. Outside the free throw line, I don't know if he scored.
And that's what's maddening about the Spurs and Wemby to a degree, right? Like, I agree. They have a very young coach. He might be the youngest coach in the NBA. So it's funny because he's developing a young core, but he's developing himself. And you can see the struggles the Spurs have had this year is they get big leads and they don't know how to hold big leads. They don't know how to close out games. And it's a learning process when your core is as young as it is. But that game last night, to let KD get away with guarding Wemby is inexcusable. And it's not a knock on KD, but you're 37 and he's 22. And even though you're a long guy, he's got almost 6 inches on you and he's more athletic than you. I didn't like that they let him get away with that. I also didn't like the fact that too many times Wemby was just hell bent as just settling for jump shots.
Yes.
He wanted to be a 2 guard. And I'm like, dude, you can show off that you can shoot from distance, but this particular game, I need you to be closer to the block. Catch the ball at the elbow. You know what I mean? Like do something other than shoot threes. Nobody in the Spurs can make a shot in the second half. Like they were stone cold. One of the most impressive things that happened in that game that nobody talks about is the fact that De'Aaron Fox, he got disappeared because Amen Thompson locked him down. Just took him out the game completely to the point where De'Aaron Fox didn't even engage anymore. And look, I think Houston's a legitimate title contender, Gene. You're right. If they get consistent point guard play, if Reed Shepherd is going to be what he was last night or something close to that, they're going to be fine. The problem is the point guard play they've had year in and year out has been up and down. which is why instead of being like the third or fourth seed in the West, they're like the sixth seed in the West.
Right now I think they're the 4, but the reason and I think they're only a couple of games behind the Spurs at 2. But the part of the Rockets that's maddening is they lose so many games because their offense basically runs stagnant ISO ball. And Sengun is like becoming the alpha on that team. He's the one yelling in the huddles. He's the one freaking out. Amen Thompson, like Kevin Durant's not that guy. He wants to just play basketball. That's who he is. It's who he's always been. He talks a lot of shit. He can make good jumpers. He's getting up there. He's a little long in the tooth. He's not the same KD that you've seen in Brooklyn. He's not the same KD you've seen in Golden State. And he's definitely not the same KD you've seen in Oklahoma City.
Right.
But with that being said, he's a closer and he can make big shots for you. But you need to be able to get him the ball in situations to where he can catch the ball and shoot. He can be in situations to where he can be the killer that he is. The problem with their offense is that it looks like they run like it's like the equivalent of NFL of a team's constantly running 4 verticals. They're like running ISO ball constantly. And you can't do that. You have to run sets. You have to create mismatches. You have to run screen and rolls. You have to run. There's a lot of stuff, and it just don't do it. And I don't think it's bad coaching. I think it's bad distributing.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant made some ridiculous passes in that game, like passes that will not get the credit they deserve. The one pass that he made to who's the dunker? I forget his name. Clint Capella was incredible. Basically, under 2 players, bang for a dunk. The Spurs are so deep. And if that coach, Mitch Johnson, can get everything together for them, I think they can win the NBA title next year. I kind of given up on them winning it this year. But man, with Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Champagnie, Wembanyama, there's Harrison, there's so many guys on that team.
Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, you can keep going.
That team is loaded, man. That team is loaded with talent.
Wemby's the best player, but I think the guy who has the alpha personality, who's the dog, is Castle.
Yes, 100%.
I think Castle's the alpha on that team.
I'll tell you something right now. Dylan Harper will be the alpha on that team. And out of the 3 point guards that they have, Castle, Harper, and Fox, Harper has the highest ceiling. And you could disagree with me, and that's fine. Dylan Harper, I think he's 19 years old. He is going to be an absolute superstar in the league. I feel it.
I don't disagree with that. I was the one arguing that I understood why they still kept Fox, but I said as Harper develops, you keep Harper and Castle, you move off of Fox and get an asset for him.
100%. And they can both be combo guards. Castle and Harper can both be 1 and 2. You could play them together. They both can shoot. They both can pass. They both can defend. They're not the fastest like De'Aaron Fox is, but both of them are very good basketball players.
Yeah, 100%. I love the way the Spurs are built, but I'm with you. I think they're a year out, and the only reason I say I think is because I believe in the Western Conference this year, it will literally be about matchups. It'll come down to matchups. I don't think the Spurs can beat a healthy Nuggets team, but I do think the Spurs could beat the defending champs. I don't think the defending champs could beat the Spurs, but I think they can beat everybody else in the West. So I think it really will come down to matchups.
We got a very, really bad news yesterday, I think it was, that Jimmy Butler's tore his ACL. If I'm the Golden State Warriors, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know that the thing of like one team, one career, the Kobe Bryant type thing, or I want to walk up to Steph and be like, do you want to compete on another team? I want to unload. I want to dump. I want to burn it down, and I want to rebuild it. Look, if you were holding out hope, I was one of them last year, that Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green for a playoff run could make a run. Okay. With Jimmy Butler out, you have to unload your talent. You have to reload the chamber, and you can't reload it around Steph Curry. He's 36 or 37 years old. It's time to move on. Trade Draymond to a playoff contending team. Trade Steph Curry if he wants to. If he doesn't want to, just let him go out there and have fun. You guys can basically tank the rest of the year and rebuild the team. Mo, what are your thoughts on Golden State's next plans?
So everything you said, I applied to last year's team.
You did.
I applied to last year's team, and so we're here again, but it's more dire now because now you lose Jimmy Butler to an ACL injury. And by the way, Jimmy's 35. Yes. So now you're talking about Jimmy, 35 years old, coming off that type of major injury. He won't be the same player when he returns. You have to stop doing the Band-Aid moves. Finally, Mike Dunleavy, Steve Kerr in that front office, you got to do the hard thing. It's time to rebuild it. And you're right. You ask Steph the question because you owe him that.
Yep.
Knowing Steph Curry, my guess is he's going to go no. He's not going to go anywhere, which means you're going to tell him, look, this is what we have to do, though. We love you staying, but we have to rebuild. But you're still going to be relevant, right? Like, that's the way I look at it. Steph's 37, but he's still playing at an all NBA caliber level. So this is the other side of being the guy in the league. You're not winning any more titles, but you can still put up more numbers, individual accolades. You can represent your team, the NBA, all those kind of things, be a great ambassador and finish your career off. Because that's what's going to happen if he understands that it's time to rebuild. You're right. Trade Draymond. I would say that right now the Golden State should be like everybody that's not named Steph Curry is you know what I mean? Like, we're open for business because we need trade assets. We need draft assets. The Kuminga thing is insane.
God, bro, I swear.
I don't want you. We don't play you. You're young and healthy. And normally when we're trying to trade somebody in the NBA, we let them play to build up their value so other teams go, yo, that's right, that Kuminga guy's nice. Golden State went a completely different way. They're like, yeah, we want to trade him, but we're not going to play him. And he's not hurt or injured or anything, but we're not going to play him. And then you turn around and you go, we like a couple of number ones. And if I'm another team, I'm like, a couple of number ones for a guy that you won't even play? Not going to happen.
It's bad. It's very poor management. It really is.
Dunleavy is in over his head. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Do want to bring up another team. Ever since the New York Knicks have won the in-season tournament, they're 2-9 in their last 11 games. Now, granted, you didn't have Brunson for 4 of them. Josh Hart's been out for a few, but it's not like they're playing like world beaters of America. I'm going to read you they got blown out by 17 points at home to Cooper Flagg and the Mavericks. They got beat by the Suns at home. They lost to the Warriors. They lost to the Kings. They beat the Trailblazers. They lost to the Suns, beat the Clippers. They got beat by 30 by the Pistons. The Sixers beat them at home. The Hawks beat them at home. Ever since they won the in-season tournament, they've been terrible. Is Mike Brown the right coach for this team?
I told people when they hired Mike Brown that you're getting the other side of the coin from Tom Thibodeau. Like, Mike Brown is the coach. He's the players kind of coach. Gets along with everybody. He's got a free-flowing offensive system. And Tibbs is the hard-nosed, old school. It's about defense. I'm not worried about offense. Rigid kind of coach. They're just two different sides of the coin. I think Mike Brown is a good coach, but he's not the kind of coach that's going to get in players' face and be confrontational. And I really believe that if you look at the Knicks and the way they're struggling, there's 2 things. One, I think that all the trade talks got in Karl-Anthony Towns' head immediately. I think he's been playing in a funk ever since because it's either Giannis or somebody else, but in every trade package, Karl-Anthony Towns was the guy getting traded. I think Jalen Brunson, as great a player as he is, I feel like even under Mike Brown, there's been even more. I thought they'd be less Brunson-centric They become more Brunson centric. I thought the whole idea was to spread the floor, get everybody else involved, and take the load off of Brunson. I think Mike Brown's put more of a load on him. And I think he's gotten worn down. In this NBA, as great a player as Jalen Brunson is, and I think you would agree with this, the way the league is, it's very difficult for your best player to be a smallish guard. I'm just being real and win a title. The guys that do that are more exception than rule. And I think that the way the Knicks play under Mike Brown, they score more, but they're god awful on defense. They don't guard anybody.
I mean, I think a lot of it's effort too. With Tom Thibodeau, he used to drill it home: effort, defense. This year, it's very obvious that effort isn't there, including Tom Thibodeau calling out Karl-Anthony Towns in his press conference. That play was, I would have suspended him for 2 games.
The play where he doesn't get, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah.
He just sits down on the other side of the court. And like there's a play that literally bounced out and he's still on the other end of the court. And then Mike Brown called him out for it after the game. I guess I'm glad he called him out. I'm going to say 3 things. I'm going to say these 3 things, and you can tell me if you agree with all of them, none of them. Fine. Number 1, Karl-Anthony Towns is not a player on a championship team. I just don't think he's that. I think if you have Karl-Anthony Towns on your team, you're not in a championship conversation. He's just a losing player. I think he's soft. I think that when Karl-Anthony Towns is on the court, you have a defensive mismatch no matter where you go. I think his body frame, the way it's structured, I agree with Gilbert Arenas. He's just not the way he said it, but the way his structure of his frame is, you can absolutely attack him every play. That's number 1. Number 2, I think when you look at the New York Knicks, every player on that team has gotten worse this year. Mikal Bridges 2 years ago was a superstar in the league. Like he was budding into the top 15 conversation. He's a role player on this Knicks team. Most people refer to OG Anunoby as the better player, and he probably is right now.
Oh, I agree with that.
What?
Oh, I agree with that. OG's the better player.
Everybody on that Knicks team has gotten worse. Karl-Anthony Towns is not a winning player. And then the last thing I'm going to say is Jalen Brunson is severe. I hate saying this as a Villanova fan. You know what's crazy? I secretly root for the Knicks way more than I should because of the Villanova kids. I'm a Sixers fan, but I love Jalen Brunson. I love Josh Hart. I love Mikal Bridges. I used to think Jalen Brunson was the most underrated player in basketball when he was on the Dallas Mavericks.
Agreed.
He's went from the most underrated basketball player in the NBA to the most overrated basketball player in the NBA in just a few seasons. And it's nothing against Jalen Brunson. It's what the team is asking him to do is not what he needs to be doing. Like they need to have an offensive structure. Like, can he be your guy to get you a bucket? Of course. But you can't be running 34% of the offense. His usage percentage is insane, Mo. It's absolutely insane, especially when you have players like Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. Granted, I don't like him. Karl-Anthony Towns. Those guys can absolutely be players that you can run the offense through for certain times of the game. And the Knicks just refuse to. What do you agree? What do you disagree?
So let me start with Towns. I do agree that if you're talking about his mental, his basketball IQ, yeah, I think from that standpoint he's a losing player because he makes bonehead plays that rookies don't make.
Yeah.
But from a talent standpoint, I'm just talking about his offensive talent. He's got an incredibly unique skill set. He doesn't shoot the ball well for a big man. He shoots the ball well for a 2-guard. Like he's that great. Like here you can make the case he's the 4th best player if you're talking about both sides of the floor. But if you're talking about just from an offensive skill set, yeah, it's him and Brunson talent wise. I just feel like I wouldn't want Towns on my team because of the way he thinks. You know what I mean? But because of the way he thinks the game.
Yeah.
And his motor. Like I love his talent, but I feel like he's got a lot of quit in him. And I don't want that in my locker room. So I want the talent. I don't want the mentality. So I agree on that. What they do with Brunson, I agree too. Like, yeah, we know Brunson can get a bucket, but I think that you could run a more conventional offense where instead of averaging 25 a game, maybe he averages 19, but 9 or 10 assists because he gets Bridges, OG, and other guys involved. Because I think Bridges and OG can both average around 20 points a game consistently if they got the opportunities. They don't spread the ball around. A lot of times, Bridges and OG are watching Brunson play basketball.
100%. They're standing in the corner or in the dunker spot. It's crazy.
Right.
It's so weird to watch. Okay. Last but certainly not least, not last on the agenda, but I want to move it back to football for a minute. I want to read you an excerpt real quick, Mo. I thought this was really interesting. So, if you don't know, Kevin Stefanski, we talked about this last week, but is the new coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And Kevin Stefanski used to coach the Browns and won Baker Mayfield. I guess a person on Twitter wrote, Falcons Kevin Stefanski had dumpster fired quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. So I guess Baker, being the petty individual that he is, sees this tweet and decides he wants to respond. And in that response, he takes a shot. And you'll hear it, a shot at former coach Kevin Stefanski. Failed is quite the reach, pal, referring to the tweet. Still waiting on a text or a call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach. Do you like this from your superstar? Well, not superstar. I said, once again, I agree with Cottrell. That word gets thrown around too often. But do you agree with this from your star quarterback if you're Tampa Bay Buccaneers? What are your thoughts on this tweet?
Well, I'm not a Bucs fan, but I'm a huge Baker fan. I agree with it. Why not? That is Baker being his authentic self. He means it. He can't wait to play against this dude. And I don't blame Baker. But Baker should have a list of people that counted him out. Baker Mayfield is a very good quarterback in this league. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's definitely a star.
Bro, he is. I think he's a star. But I think the fun part of him is he's so non-conventional of like the way he handles things. He wears his like heart on his sleeve, very attitude driven. He's tough. I like him.
He's the opposite. He's the opposite of Dak Prescott, right? He doesn't say all the politically correct things. He says what he thinks, how he feels, or what he's thinking in the moment.
I think yes. I think he's also the opposite of like a Tua, where Tua is a very quiet, mild-mannered guy that just always positive and isn't tough. Whereas Baker, I think Dak's tough. If I'm being honest with you, I just don't think his personality in the media is opposite of Baker Mayfield. I think Tua is soft as a pillow. I think Baker Mayfield can lead you in the war in the right situation, and I'd be confident with him as my signal caller. Did he have a great end of the season this year? Absolutely not. But with that being said, I still like him as a quarterback.
Me too.
We got conference championship games this week. The New England Patriots are now 6-point favorites over the Denver Broncos. Actually, I'm lying. It's down to 5.5. 5.5-point favorites over the Denver Broncos in Denver. What type of chance do you give the Denver Broncos to pull off the upset, even though they're at home with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback?
I'm going to say it's 50-50. I give them the chance to pull off the upset. I'm picking the Patriots to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Jarrett Stidham has one job. He needs to do the job that C.J. Stroud failed to do. With that defense, you got one job. Don't turn the football over. If you don't turn the football over, if you go 3 and out, if you struggle, but you don't turn the football over, you're going to be in the football game because your defense is good enough to slow down that Patriots offense. Maybe not as good as the Texas defense, but pretty damn close. As long as Jarrett Stidham doesn't turn the football over, they're going to be in the football game.
Damien says 4%. I think it's higher than 4%.
I think it's going to be a better game than people think.
I agree with you, Mo. I was actually hoping you said 0 or 5 or I agree with you. I think that when you look at this Broncos team, I don't think Bo Nix has played great quarterback this year. Like, I don't think going to Jarrett Stidham, everyone lauds Bo Nix end of games because he plays very well down the stretch. He's like the cardiac cats. Like, in the fourth quarter, Bo Nix has been fine. I don't think he's played great in the first 3 quarters of football games. And I don't think you need great quarterback play to compete with as the Denver Broncos. Their front 7 is going to give problems, just like Houston's did to New England. They're going to give them problems.
Agree.
And then if you take it a step further, if they don't turn the football over and Jarrett Stidham takes what the defense gives them and they develop their run game, I think it'll be a low-scoring, ugly game. I do have the Patriots winning. I think it'll be like 16-13. Nothing, to write home about. But I think this game will be a lot tighter than a lot of people think. And this is the last thing I'll give anybody out there listening. Be very mindful when 85% of the public is on a team. Vegas was not built on the backs of losing that much money. They know something that a lot of you guys at home probably don't. So if the 4.5, 5.5 point spread and 80% of the money's on one side and they're not moving it up to 7.5 and trying to get more money on the other side, be very careful. Next game on the docket. Round 3. Game 1 in LA. Low scoring, ugly. Sam Darnold had 4 interceptions. Still, they had an opportunity to kick a game-winning 62-yard field goal. Lost the game by 2 to LA. Next game. You look at this and just, it is in Seattle. LA's dominating the football game. They're shutting down Seattle. I think they're up 2 scores. And whatever happened, they absolutely let their foot off the gas pedal defensively and start playing off coverage to not get beat over the top. Seattle builds momentum, comes back and wins the game 33-30. Round 3 in Seattle. The games have been decided by a total of 1 point this year. Who do you like in Seattle for the NFC Championship game?
This is an interesting one because I'd like the Rams to win. I would. I've been a big Sean McVay fan for a long time, and I like Matthew Stafford. And it would be great to see Sean McVay have the opportunity to put a second Super Bowl on his resume. That being said, they're going back to Seattle. I know the game's been close, but I'm telling you, I think Seattle's the more physical team. If this is a close game, I think the Rams are in good shape. But if Seattle can run the football, and they can get a little bit of a cushion, because I think Sam Darnold is so much better when he can play with a lead. He's just different. I think if there's a cushion, Seattle's going to be fine. I'm picking the Seahawks to win. I think it's going to be another close game, but I'm going to give the edge to the Seahawks.
I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Rams are the better football team. I think defensively, they're very, very close. I think offensively, I put all my faith in Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Kyren Williams. I think they're the better football team. Even Blake Corum. Let's give Blake Corum some love. He's played great this year. I think Blake Corum's played so great this year, you see the LA Rams move on from Kyren Williams this offseason. That's besides the point. I think that we are looking at a Stafford versus baby Stafford Super Bowl.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
They're the most comparable players I've ever seen.
Okay.
Drake May, to me, feels like a young Matthew Stafford. Do I think he can be better? Absolutely. But their archetype, they're who they are as players. It feels like the same player. Do you remember that Detroit Lions Matthew Stafford, the one that separated his shoulder and then ran down the field and threw a touchdown pass?
Right.
Like that feels like Drake May, the guy that just whatever it takes. I will say this. I think it's cold. Did you hear Devontae Adams in his press conference talking about Matthew Stafford, what he said to him before the game-winning drive versus Carolina?
No, what did he say?
He said, let's rip the hearts out of these guys. Let's take their soul. And Devontae Adams, what? That was cold. He walked into the huddle down 3 or down 4 and said, let's take their soul. I love that.
That's an awesome line.
I like Matthew Stafford. I got trust in Puka Nacua. And I like the Rams versus the Patriots in a Super Bowl that I would much rather watch than anything else. I don't want to see Seattle versus Denver. That would be the worst case scenario. Hey, guys, would you like to see Sam Darnold versus Jarrett Stidham? Let's really advertise the shit out of that game. I don't want that, bro. Give me Stafford May. Give me Puka Nacua. Like, I want that.
Well, yeah, look, I would love to see a Rams Patriots. We can call it a rematch, but it's been a rematch from over 20 years ago. But yeah, I got
from eight years ago.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Yeah. Facts. But yeah, I'd much rather see that Super Bowl because I think the Seattle Denver Super Bowl would be like a 9-3 game. I don't want to watch that.
I feel you. I feel you, sir. That's basically all I got today. Anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, we chopped it up really good. Went through the football, went through some NBA, came back to football to finish up our picks for the conference championship. So I'm with it. Great day, great morning. Is talking sports. I feel you, Damien. I feel you. No, I appreciate the chat and all the energy. Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. I want you guys to tune in tonight to Wire Sports Podcast. We're going to be live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, breaking down all your sports. We got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran making it in the Hall of Fame. Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, Luis Robert to the New York Metropolitans, Jimmy Butler tearing his ACL, and, perfect stuff to recap the College Football National Championship and the NFL Coaching Carousel and Championship Week. We got UFC 324 coming this weekend. It's going to be a fun card. I am fired up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, Coffee and Sports in the Morning, Wire to Wire Network. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Mo, close us out.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.